Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to Professor Academy's UGC NET Sociology classes. So we were discussing previous year questions of sociology paper. Just a second. Okay, so we were discussing previous year questions from UGC NET Sociology, and today we are going to discuss PYQs from Unit 3, Basic Concepts and Institutions. Okay. We have already completed this unit and we have discussed different concepts and different institutions in sociology already. And today we will be today I've included questions. I try to include questions which are more important or from questions from more important areas of this unit. So it would be a very useful session for you. Okay. So let's start the class. Okay. So this is the first question. Choose the correct sequence of the stages of demographic transition. Okay, you have to select the correct sequence of the stages of demographic transition. And the stages are given here as option A, high fertility and high mortality. Option B, high fertility and low mortality. Option C, low fertility and low mortality. Option D, low fertility and high mortality. Okay. So five options or five stages are four stages are given here. So you have to arrange these stages in the correct sequence. Okay. And you have to select the correct order from these codes given here. Okay. So the first option is CABD, then BACD, or is it ABC only, or is it BCD only? Okay. You have to find the correct sequence of the stages of demographic transition. You can, if you know the answer, you can comment it down in the comment section. Okay, let's check the answer. So this is the right answer. Option 3, which is A, B, C only. Okay, so that is the correct sequence. A, B, C. A is high fertility and high mortality. B, then the second stage is high fertility but low mortality. Then the final stage is low fertility and low mortality. Okay, so this is the correct sequence of the stages of demographic transition. So let's check it more here. So these are the stages of demographic transition. So in the stage one is high birth and death rates lead to slow population growth. Okay, so in stage one, both birth rate and death rate is high, which leads to slow population growth. Okay, both are equal or both are high, even though there is high birth rate, equally there is death rate also. So that would lead to a slow population growth. But in the second stage, the death rate falls, but the birth rate remains high. Okay, so the birth rate or the fertility rate is high, but the death rate falls. Death rate is low, which leads to faster population growth. Okay, so that is the second stage. But in third stage, the birth rate also starts to fall. So population growth starts to slow. So in first stage, both birth rate and death rates are high, which leads to a slow population growth. But in the second stage, the death rate falls, or the death rate starts to decrease, but still the birth rate remains high, which leads to faster population growth. But on the third stage, birth rate also starts to decrease. Then population growth starts to slow down, or the process of population growth starts to slow down because there is low birth rate. Okay. Then in the final stage, or in the stage 4, the birth rate reaches the same low level as the death rate. So population growth slows to 0. That is the final stage of demographic transition. Both birth rate and death rate reaches the same low level and population growth slows to 0. Okay, so these are the stages of demographic transition. So here, in first stage, both fertility rates and mortality rates are high. But in the second stage, there is high fertility rate but low mortality rate. Okay, but in the final stage, both become very low. Both fertility rate and mortality rate becomes low. Okay, but low fertility and high mortality, there is not such a stage. Okay, we in the stages of demographic transition, there isn't a stage like low fertility and high mortality. Okay, so this option is wrong. It is not there in stages of demographic transition. So the right answer or the right sequence is A, B, and C. Okay. So now let's move to the next question. So it is a statement. Who said the statement? Social structure as the complex of the principal groups and institutions which constitute societies. Who said the statement? And the options are Durkheim, Radcliffe Brown, Raymond Firth, and Morris Ginsburg. Who said this statement? Social structure as the complex of the principal groups and institutions which constitute societies. If you know the answer, please comment it down. Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is Ginsburg. Okay, so these are the words of Ginsburg. Social structure as the complex of the principal groups and institutions which constitute societies is the words of Ginsburg. Okay, next question. The practice of technonymy is found among. The practice of technonymy is found among which people or which group? Oreons, Khasis, Karders, or Santals? Where or among which group we can find this practice of technonymy? So in order to answer these questions, first you have to know what is technonymy. Okay, we'll check it. What is technonymy? If you don't know what it is. Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is Khasis. Okay, the practice of technonymy is found among Khasis. So the practice of technonymy. So technonymy means naming children after their mother. Okay, so children or babies have the same name of their mother. That is the practice of technonymy. So it is a relatively rare practice. Okay, and there are only some cultures where it is traditionally practiced. And one example of such a culture is the Khasi tribe in Northeast India, particularly in the state of Meghalaya. Okay, so that is the practice of technonymy, naming children after their mother. Okay, so now to the next question. Who has given a graphic account of the miserable situation of unmarried individuals in the most primitive societies? Which thinker gave such a description of or such a graphic account of the miserable situations of unmarried individuals in the most primitive societies? And the options are Levi-Strauss, G.P. Murdoch, Kingsley Davis, and R.H. Lowy. Who gave such a description or such a definition? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is Levi-Strauss. Okay. So Claude Levi-Strauss has written about the situation of unmarried individuals in primitive societies in this book, Elementary Structures of Kinship. Okay. So in this book, Elementary Structures of Kinship, Levi-Strauss has written about the situation of unmarried individuals in primitive societies. And in this book, Levi-Strauss discusses the incest taboo and how it creates a system of marriage exchange and alliance between families, which can result in unmarried individuals being left without a partner. Okay, so here discusses about the situation of unmarried individuals from a perspective of or related to incest taboo. Okay, we studied about what is incest taboo and all, so I'm not going again describing it. We already know what it is. So in this book, he discusses the incest taboo and how this incest taboo affects or results in unmarried individuals being left without a partner. And he notes that the situation of unmarried individuals in primitive societies is often difficult as they may not have the same social support or resources as married individuals. Okay, so it is Levi-Strauss that given a graphic account of the miserable situation of unmarried individuals in the most primitive societies. Okay. Okay, I hope it is clear. Let's move to the next question. Which one of the following factors is negatively correlated with modernization? Okay, negatively correlated with. We are not talking about a positive relation. Okay, here we are. The question is about the factor which is negatively correlated with modernization. Okay, and the options are achievement motivation, cosmopolitanism, individualism, and religiosity. Among these options, which one is negatively correlated with modernization? Negative correlation means we can say it as a, you know, sometimes we can call a negative correlation as there is, as or we describe it as no direct relationship with modernization. So simply among these options, try to find the factor which don't have any direct correlation with modernization. Then you can find the correct answer. If you have any answer, please comment down. Okay, let's check the answer. So the correct answer is religiosity. Okay, so is religiosity a factor or a feature of modernization? No, we can say religiosity and modernization are in an opposite way. Like as the world become more modernized, we can say that religiosity has actually decreased, isn't it? Like they have a negative correlation. But achievement motivation, cosmopolitanism, individualism, etc., have a positive relation with modernization. Is it? As modernization increases, all these three factors also increases. But when it comes to religiosity, it has a negative correlation with modernization. So the right answer is religiosity. This is a very simple question. Okay. Okay. So now let's move to the next question. Who among the following stated that Sanskritization is for achieving a change in style of life and a rise in the Indian social system, now composed of both caste and class elements? So again, a statement question. Whose statement is this? I know it is very difficult for you to remember all of these statements or who said which statement. It is so difficult, I know, but still we have to at least remember, at least try to remember some of the major statements like this. Okay, try to learn or try to remember at least. If you check the question paper, you can find some statements repeatedly asked. Okay, so at least try to study or remember all that statements. You can expect at least one this kind of question, like who stated this or whose words are this. Okay, so who stated this? Whose statement is this? Sanskritization is for achieving a change in style of life and a rise in the Indian social system, now composed of both caste and class elements. And the options are M.N. Srinivas, Owen Lynch, Andre Bethel, and Milton Singer. Whose words is this? Okay, let's check the answer. And the right answer is Owen Lynch. Okay, so it is Owen Lynch's word. Sanskritization is for achieving a change in style of life and a rise in the Indian social system, now composed of both caste and class lines. Okay, so in this question, you have to remember one thing is that whenever we see the word Sanskritization, the first name which comes into our mind is M.N. Srinivas. Okay, so please don't do that. Like whenever you see the word Sanskritization, don't click the answer M.N. Srinivas. Sometimes it can be other thinkers also. Okay, so try to remember this kind of statements also, because it is not said by M.N. Srinivas. Some other thinkers also talked about Sanskritization. Okay, so not always Sanskrit. The answer for a question related to Sanskritization is M.N. Srinivas. Okay, so this statement is given by Owen Lynch. Okay, so now let's take the next question. Cultural substitution is a process of cultural determinism, cultural change, cultural alternatives, or cultural relativity. What is cultural substitution? Is it a process of what? It's a simple question. Please comment down the answer. Okay, I'm seeing no answer. I think let's move to the answer part. Okay, so the right answer is option B, cultural change. Okay, so cultural substitution is a process of cultural change. Okay, so what is this cultural substitution? So a cultural substitution refers to the process by which elements of one culture are replaced or adopted by another. Okay, so it is the process by which elements of one culture are replaced or adopted by another culture. That is cultural substitution. And this can occur through various means such as migration, globalization, or cultural exchange. So this cultural substitution can happen through various means, like it can happen as a result of migration or globalization or cultural exchange. And it involves the integration of foreign cultural elements into a society, often leading to the transformation or adaptation of traditions, customs, languages, and other aspects of culture. And cultural substitution can result in a dynamic and evolving cultural landscape as different influences converge and contribute to the development of a new hybridized cultural identity. So simply we can say cultural substitution is a process of cultural change. A change is happening in the culture. So simply we can say that cultural substitution is a process of cultural change. Okay, so the right answer is option 2. Okay, so now next question. Which one is a form of interaction without contact? A form of interaction without contact. Which one is that? From the given options. So the options are conflict, competition, accommodation, assimilation. Among these forms of interaction, which one is a type of interaction without any contact? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is competition. Okay, so competition is a form of interaction without any contact. In competition, there is no contact. Okay, so there are 5 key types of social interaction. Okay, so one thing is we can find numerous types of social interactions. Okay, it is not limited to this, just this 5 types, but these are the major types of social interaction, like exchange, cooperation, competition, conflict, and accommodation. But you can also find so many other types of social interactions also. And competition is one of the prominent types of social interaction, and in this form, one or more of the parties are attempting to prove to the others or to bystanders that they are superior to other parties in one or more aspects. That is the type of social interaction, which is competition. Okay, and the major feature of competition is that it is a form of interaction without any contact. Okay, try to remember that. Okay, and also try to remember other forms of social interaction or other types of social interaction also. Okay. Okay, so I think it's clear. Now let's move to the next question. According to Weber, caste is an example of, according to Weber, caste is an example of option 1, class, option 2, status, option 3, party, option 4, authority. According to Weber, caste is an example of what according to our options? What is the right answer? If you know the answer, please comment it down. Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is option 2, status. Okay, so according to Weber, caste is an example of status. So in Max Weber's phraseology, caste and class both are status groups. Okay, so in according to Max Weber, caste and class are both status groups. While castes are perceived as hereditary groups with a fixed ritual status, social classes are defined in terms of the relations of production. Okay, so he perceived castes as the hereditary groups with a fixed ritual status. Okay, ritual status. And then he defined social classes in terms of the relations of production. So, according to Max Weber, both caste and class are status groups. Okay. Next question. Hindu Jajmani system is associated with option 1 caste, option 2 power, option 3 class, option 4 race. What is the right answer? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is option 1 caste. The Jajmani system or Yajman system was an economic system most notably found in villages of the Indian subcontinent in which lower castes performed various functions for upper castes and received grain or other goods in return. So here it is clear that it was a system based on caste, lower caste and upper caste. Lower caste performed various functions for upper caste, and in turn for that functions or as a return for that functions, people from lower caste received grain or other goods in return. That was the system of Jajmani system or Yajaman system, and it was based on caste. Okay, so our answer is caste. Hindu Jajmani system is associated with caste. Okay, so now let's move to our next question. P.A. Sorokin has discussed ideational culture and what cultural culture in social change. Okay, see, he discussed about two types of culture when he gave the idea of social change. So the one was ideational culture. What was the other one? Along with he discussed ideational culture in social change. Is it composite culture or is it fixed culture or sensate culture or material culture? What was the second type of culture which P.A. Sorokin discussed in relation to social change? Any answers? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is sensate culture. Okay, sensate culture. So Sorokin classifies societies according to their cultural mentality. Okay, he classified societies based on their cultural mentality. And this cultural mentality, it can be ideational or sensate. So ideational means reality is spiritual and immaterial. That is the concept of ideational culture. So according to ideational culture, reality is spiritual and immaterial. Then there is sensate culture. So in the context of sensate culture, truth is material and all things are in flux. That is the concept of sensate culture. Then it can be idealistic also. So idealistic is a combination of these two, ideational or sensate. So basically he talked about two types of culture, which is ideational and sensate. Okay, and idealistic is a mix of or a synthesis of these two, ideational and sensate. So the right answer is sensate. P.S. Sorokin has discussed ideational culture and sensate culture in sociology. Okay. Now, next question. Who is not associated with the study of culture? Okay. Among these four options, which thinker is not associated with the study of culture? And the options are R. Benedict, A. L. Kroeber, E. B. Taylor, and A. Etzioni. So among this, four thinkers are associated with study of culture and one is not associated with culture. So you have to find out who is that. Okay, who is that thinker which is not associated with the study of culture? Any answers? Okay, let's check the right answer. So the right answer is A. Etzioni. Okay. So here, our first option was Ruth Benedict. R. Benedict means Ruth Benedict. So Ruth Benedict was a thinker related to culture or the study of culture. And her influential work was Patterns of Culture, okay, which was published in 1934. And this book explored the concept of cultural relativism, okay. So of course, Ruth Benedict is related to study of culture. Then next option was Alfred L. Kroeber, okay. So he was an American cultural anthropologist and one of his famous concepts is culture areas. So he is also related to culture. Then the third option was E.B. Taylor. Of course, Taylor is related to culture. So his famous book is Primitive Culture, which was published in 1871. And some of his major theories or concepts include theory of cultural evolution, concept of animism, concept of survivals, etc. All these we can relate to culture or the study of culture. So of course, E.B. Taylor is also related to the study of culture. Then our last option, Amitai Etzioni. So his studies were mainly related to socio-economics or communitarianism, that kind of topics. So of course, the thinker among these four thinkers, the one which is not related to the study of culture is option D, Amitai Etzioni. Okay, so that is our answer. Okay, now let's move to the next question. The concept of the reference group was first used by which scholar? Which scholar used the concept of reference group for the first time in sociology? And the options are H. Hyman, M. Ginsberg, Sumner, and K. Davis. Who used the concept reference group for the first time? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is option 1, H. Hyman. Okay, so he used the concept of reference group for the first time. Now, what is a reference group? A reference group is a collection of people who act as a baseline that individuals or other groups use for comparison. So simply, As the name itself is reference group, it is a collection of people who acts like a reference for other people, or it is like a group which other individuals or groups use for comparison. Okay, and the term reference group was first used by Hyman, who elaborated the concept and explored some of its properties in the book The Psychology of Status, 1942. Okay, so the term was first used by Hyman in his book The Psychology of Status. So our answer is option 1, Hyman. Okay. 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 Now let's check the next question. Who has, just a second. Okay. So who has firstly used the term quasi group? Okay. Who used the term quasi group for the first time? And the options are MacIver, M. Ginsberg, P. Sorokin, and C. Webster. Who used the term quasi group for the first time? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is Ginsberg. Okay, he used the term quasi group for the first time. Okay, so this kind of questions, we don't have any tricks or, there is no tricks or shortcuts to remember this kind of questions or answers. The only way is you have to remember all these names and who used these terms for the first time. There is no other way. Okay, you should study this and you should remember by yourself. There is no tricks or abbreviations or anything like that. This kind of questions you should have to study by yourself and try to remember or recall it in your examinations. That is the only way. So keep practicing. Okay, that's only the one and only way for us to correct or for us to learn all these concepts and all these terms. You have to keep practicing as much as PYQs possible. Okay, PYQs or MCQs. That is the only way to study all these concepts, because there is a lot of concepts, especially from this unit, basic concepts and institutions. There are a lot of concepts and questions we can expect, and it is not possible for us to study each of that concept one by one and try to remember who gave which concept. It is not possible to study all of that. Okay, so one thing you can do is that try to attend maximum PYQs, then you can find the trend. Some questions they will keep asking some questions repeatedly, which means that that is more important. Then one thing you can do is that you can study those important points or important topics. That you can do easily. But it is not possible for us to study all of these concepts and remember all of this. Okay, so this is the better way. Keep practicing PYQs. Okay, so back to our question. So Ginsberg used the term quasi group for the first time. So this is his definition of quasi group, which he gave in 1934. So he defined it as aggregates or portions of the community which have no recognizable structure, but whose members have certain interests or modes of behavior in common, which may at any time lead them to form themselves into definite groups. So that is the definition given by Ginsberg in 1934. So according to him, these quasi groups have a potential, and at any time they can form themselves into definite groups. Okay. Okay. So now to our next question. Who has focused on role summation? Role summation is related to which thinker? Option 1, Stauffer. Option 2, S.F. Nadell. Option 3, Peter Blow. Option 4, R. Linton. Which one of these thinkers focused on role summation? Okay, you have to know what is role summation. Then you also have to remember who talked about role summation, or which thinker is associated with role summation? Any answers? Okay, let's check the right answer. So the correct answer is option 2, S.F. Nadale. So S.F. Nadale's role summation concept is a theoretical framework in anthropology that emphasizes the idea that individuals in a society perform various roles, and the combination of these roles contributes to the overall functioning and stability of the social system. So this is the basic concept of role summation by S.F. Nadale. So according to this concept, individuals in a society perform different roles, and all these roles together, or the combination of all these roles, helps or influence the overall functioning and stability of the social system. And Nadal argued that roles in a society are interrelated and interconnected, forming a complex web of social interactions. And he believed that understanding the roles people play within a social group is essential for comprehending the structure and dynamics of that society. And this concept of role summation highlights the importance of looking at the aggregate effect of individual roles to grasp the functioning of social systems. So simply we can say S.F. Nadale's concept of role summation is based on different roles played by individuals in a society, and how these roles are interrelated or connected with each other, and how these roles played by people in a society influence the social structure and stability of the society. So that is simply the concept of role summation, which is related to S.F. Nadale. Okay. Okay. So now let's move to our next question. So it is a assertion and reasoning kind of question. So consider the statement assertion A and reason R and select the correct answer from the quotes given below. Okay. So the assertion is downward mobility occurs whenever an individual fails to conspicuously to line up to the requirements of his caste. Then the reason given is, from the point of view of any individual, the ritual rank of his caste is for all practical purposes fixed. So, find the correct answer from the quotes given below. Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is option 4. A is false, but R is true. So A, assertion is given as downward mobility occurs whenever an individual fails to conspicuously to line up to the requirements of his caste. Is that right? No. A assertion given here is false. So what is downward mobility? So downward mobility in society refers to a situation where individuals or groups experience a decline in their social or economic status compared to their previous position or to the overall societal standards. And this can happen for various reasons and can manifest in different aspects of life, such as income, education, employment, or overall social standing. So here the assertion given here is not right. Okay, it is false. But reason, the statement which is given as reason, from the point of view of any individual, the ritual rank of his caste is for all practical purposes fixed. So this statement is actually right, okay, or actually true. So our correct option is option 4. A is false, but R is true. Okay, so that is our answer. Okay, now to our next question. The disharmony between the rapid growth of technology and slower transformation of social institutions and traditional beliefs is known as, it's a simple question, okay? So what is what term we can use to denote this? The disharmony between the rapid growth of technology and slower transformation of social institutions and traditional belief. We use a word to denote this process because the technology keep developing fast, or rapid growth of technology is there, but uh, it is difficult for social institutions and traditional beliefs to transform based on this, or transform on the same frequency of growth of technology, or the development or transformation of social institutions and traditional beliefs lags behind. So what is the term we use to refer this phenomenon? And the options are cultural diffusion, cultural assimilation, cultural lag, or cultural innovation. It's a very simple question, okay? Please answer it in the comments if you know the answer. Okay, let's check the right answer. So the right answer is option 3, cultural lag. Okay. So cultural lag is a sociological concept that refers to the time it takes for society's beliefs, values, and norms to catch up with the technological advancements or changes in the material culture. So simply there is a lag between the development of technology and the development of society and its traditional values. So the technology or the technological advancements or changes in the material culture keep changing in a more frequent way, but the society or the society's beliefs, values, and norms take some time to catch up with all these developments, or there is a lag in between these two developments. So that is known as cultural lag. In other words, we can say when new technologies or innovations emerge, there is often a delay in the adjustment of societal attitudes and customs to accommodate or fully understand these changes. It is known as cultural lag. Okay, for example, we can say when for the first time when the smartphones were introduced, only very few people used smartphones, isn't it? It was not common among middle class people, or among normal middle class people or lower middle class people. It was not there. Nobody used smartphones during the earlier periods when it was introduced, or people didn't even know how to use that, isn't it? But now we can see that everyone, even very old people, also have smartphones and they know how to use all that technologies and all. So they actually took a little time to catch up with this developing technology. Okay, so that kind of a time or that gap in between these developments is known as cultural lag. So it can be anything, like it is usual or it is normal that our society takes some time to catch up with the advancements happening in our material culture or in our society. That lag or that gap is known as cultural lag. And this lag can lead to social and ethical challenges as people grapple with the implications and consequences of the new developments. Okay, so when something new gets introduced into the society, this cultural lag happens, and it may lead to social and ethical challenges because people find it very difficult to cope up with the new implications and consequences of the new developments. Then cultural lag highlights the potential disconnect between the pace of technological process and the slower rate at which cultural and social systems adapt to these changes. Okay, so that is the concept of cultural lag. Okay, now let's move to our next question. The key concept in labeling theory is that of. Among these four options, find the key concept related to labeling theory. And the options are acceptance, stigma, motivation, and aspiration. The key concept related to labeling theory. So in order to answer this question, you have to know what is labeling theory, and you should know what are the key concepts related to labeling theory. Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is stigma. Okay, so stigma is a key concept related to labeling theory. So what is this labeling theory? So labeling theory is a sociological perspective that focuses on the societal reaction to individuals and the consequences of being labeled as deviant or conforming. Okay, so our society tends to label people as people having deviant behavior or conforming behavior. So labeling theory focuses on the consequences of this labeling of people. Okay, how would people react, or what is the after effect of labeling people like this? For example, if we take our schools or in our classrooms, we can say that teachers label some children are as, this child have no future. He won't even study anything. He have no future, and teachers won't give any attention to some children. Okay, so that is actually a process of labeling. So the teachers are actually labeling that kid as a deviant kid, or a kid having a deviant behavior. He won't even study anything. He won't listen to teacher. So the teacher is labeling that kid, and the teacher starts paying no attention to that kid. So when the teacher starts to behave like that, or teacher starts to completely avoid that kid because of this labeling, that would only again lead to, or that behavior of teacher, or that consequence of labeling only lead to more bad consequences or negative consequences. So labeling theory is actually trying to, or actually focuses on the impact of or the consequences of this labeling, or how uh, it or how it causes more deviance in the society. So this theory suggests that deviance is not an inherent quality of an act or individual, but rather a social construct that is assigned based on societal reactions and labels. So according to this theory, deviance, or people deviating from the socially accepted ways or means. So this deviance behavior is not something naturally occurring, or it is not an inherent quality of a person, but it is something created by the society. So by labeling someone as a person having deviant behavior, that only, causes him to do more deviant acts in the society. So that is the basic concept of labeling theory. And these are the key concepts and ideas within labeling theory. Social construction of deviance, primary deviance and secondary deviance, social reaction or social control, master status, stigmatization, self-fulfilling prophecy, deviance amplification. Okay, so we have time limit. That's why I'm not describing all these in detail. So please note it down and please go through all these key concepts related to labeling theory. Okay, it is very important. And here we can see that stigmatization or stigma is a key concept related to labeling theory. Okay, and all these are very important. Please go through, or just read, or just Google all these key concepts and read through this. Okay, so that is labeling theory. Now let's move to the next question. The temporary form of marriage found among Muslims is called temporary form of marriage. Okay, and the options are nikah, mutta, meher, or parda. So among this, what is the temporary form of marriage found among Muslims? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is mutta. Okay, so mutta marriage, it is also known as temporary marriage or nikah mutta. So it is a concept in a particular group of Islam that allows for a temporary contractual relationship between a man and a woman with a specified duration. Okay, so one thing you have to remember is that it is only performed, or it is only followed by a particular group of Islam. Okay, not every groups of Islam follow it, but only a particular group of Islam follows this mutta marriage or perform this mutta marriage. So it is a temporary form of marriage in which a temporary contractual relationship between a man and a woman with a specified duration. Okay, only for a specific duration. It is like a temporary marriage. And in a mutta marriage, the duration of the marriage and the amount of dowry are agreed upon in advance. So in advance, they would decide the duration of the marriage, or how this marriage is for how many years or how many months, and the amount of dowry. Both of these are agreed upon in advance. And the marriage contract automatically dissolves at the end of the specified period, and there is no need for the formalities associated with a permanent marriage. Okay, no formalities, like it is like signing a contract for a job or something like that. So in Mutta marriage, it is like a contract for like a particular period, and when that period ends, the marriage contract automatically dissolves. Okay, and there is no need or formalities like we have to follow in a formal marriage. There is no formalities in this Mutta marriage. This marriage would naturally or automatically dissolve at the end of the specified period. Okay, so that is the practice of Mutta marriage. Okay, now let's check the next question. In an Indian family, the parents prepare their daughters to be a good wife or daughter in her in-laws' house. This is an example of the options are socialization, re-socialization, adult socialization, or anticipatory socialization. What's the right answer? So the parents preparing their daughters to be a good wife or good daughter in her in-laws' house. What kind of socialization is this? Or this is an example of what kind of socialization? Okay, let's check the answer. The right answer is anticipatory socialization. Okay, so this is an example of anticipatory socialization. So anticipatory socialization refers to the process through which individuals learn and internalize the values, norms, behaviors, and expectations associated with a future role or status they anticipate acquiring. Okay, so if we want to achieve a particular role or a status in future, we would start learning about that role, or we would practice how to behave when we achieve that status. Like, for example, if someone wants to become a police, or someone has an ambition to become a police in the future, then they would start to learn and internalize the values, norms, or behaviors or expectations associated to the role of a policeman. So like that, like it is same for every future role or status. Like people start to learn and internalize the values, behaviors, or norms associated with a future role or status they want to achieve. So that is known as, or that process is known as, that learning process is known as anticipatory socialization. And this socialization occurs before individuals actually enter a particular social role or status, helping them prepare for and adapt to the demands and responsibilities associated with that role. So we do this socialization process, or we do follow this learning process before we achieve that role. Okay, so if I have a plan to become a, or if I have an ambition to become a policeman, I started to learn and internalize all these factors even before I achieve that position or achieve that role. Okay, so this process or this anticipatory socialization would help people to get prepared and adapt to the demands and responsibilities associated with that role. For example, a person might engage in anticipatory socialization when preparing for a new job, a marriage, or parenthood. And during this process, individuals may learn about the expectations, behaviors, and cultural norms associated with the upcoming role, enabling them to better integrate into the new social environment. Okay, so that is the process of anticipatory socialization. Okay, so now let's go to the before going to the next question, these are the different means through which we can or anticipatory socialization can take place through various means. Like it can take place through family and peer groups, like through informal discussions, observations, and interactions with family members, friends, or peers who have experience in the anticipatory role. Then the other way of doing anticipatory socialization is through media and popular culture. So through the exposure to media representations, television shows, movies, books, or online content that depict and shape perceptions of specific roles and social situations. So our example is, pretty good here. Like, if I want to become a policeman in the future, so it would be influenced by movies. Like, after watching movies related to related to police, that would of course influence my idea of becoming a police. So I would try to imitate the looks of policemen in movies. So like that, this anticipatory socialization can also take place through media and popular culture. Then through educational institutions, formal education and training that provide knowledge and skills relevant to the anticipated role. Then personal reflection. So here, educational institutions, we can also, like, before starting a new job, for example, we go through, for some jobs there would be a pre-training period, isn't it? So that is an example for this. So through that training, we are actually getting a, or which we are actually doing a anticipatory socialization process. Then there is personal reflection and self explorations. Individuals may engage in self reflection and exploration to understand their own values, preferences, and expectations related to the upcoming role. So, that is also a means of anticipatory socialization. Okay, so now let's move to our next question. When spouses are legally recognized as living in a separate household but are not free to remarry, it is called. So spouses or couples are living in separate household, or they are legally recognized as living in separate household, but they are not free to remarry. They cannot marry other person. So this situation is known as, is it judicial separation or divorce or desertion or marital termination of spouses? What it is called? Okay, let's check the answer. So the right answer is judicial separation. Okay. So according to the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, it provides the legal framework for obtaining judicial separation and divorce. So judicial separation is the suspension of marital duties and rights without dissolution of marriage. Okay. So marriage is not dissoluted legally, but it is the suspension of marital duties and rights. So during this period of judicial separation, the couples may be living in different households, but legally they are still married. Okay, the dissolution of marriage isn't happened yet, but divorce is the legal dissolution of the marriage. So I think this judicial separation comes before, like, it comes after we file petition for divorce, and it is a period in between filing divorce and getting divorce. It is in between this processes. So the aim of judicial separation is to explore the potential for reconciliation between the couple, while the primary objective of divorce is to terminate the marital obligations. Okay, so this is the major difference between judicial separation and divorce. Judicial separation is the suspension of marital duties and rights without dissolution of marriage, but divorce is the legal dissolution of marriage. So if spouses are legally recognized as living in separate household but are not free to remarry, it is called judicial separation. Why they are not free to remarry? Because they didn't get divorced yet. So legally they are still married. That's why they are not free to remarry other persons. Okay. So that period is known as judicial separation. Okay, now to our next question. Taravada is a kind of, is it a kinship usage or a rule of residence or an extended family or a community? What is a Taravada? Okay, let's check the answer. So a Taravada is a kind of an extended family. Okay, it is a kind of extended family. So Taravada is the Malayalam word for the ancestral home of Nayar aristocratic families in Kerala, which usually served as the common residence for the matrilineal joint family under the Marumakatayan system practiced in the state in which males inherited through the female line. We learned about Taravada system while studying matrilineal systems, matrilineal lineage. So I hope you are familiar with the term Taravada. Then the German linguist Hermann Gundert in his Malayalam English dictionary published in 1872 defines a Taravada as an ancestral residence of landowners and kings, and also as a house chiefly of noblemen. But by extension, the word refers not just to the family's house, but to the extended family that shares that house. So Taravad also means the extended family that shares that house. Okay. So that is Taravad. Now to our next question. Author of the book, The Coming of Post-Industrial Society. Who wrote this book? The Coming of Post-Industrial Society. And the options are Alvin Toffler, Raymond Aron, Daniel Bell, and Theodore Adorno. Who wrote this book? The Coming of Post-Industrial Society. And the right answer is Daniel Bell. Okay. So, American sociologist Daniel Bell first coined the term post-industrial in this book, The Coming of Post-Industrial Society, a venture in social forecasting, which was published in 1973. And in this book, Daniel Bell describes several features of a post-industrial society. Okay, so in this book that he first coined the term post-industrial. That is important. Okay, please note it down. Okay, so the author of this book is Daniel Bell. Okay, now to our next question. Who among the following defined the modern world as juggernaut, which is extremely dynamic with great increase in the pace, scope, and profoundness of change over prior systems? Who defined the modern world as juggernaut? And the options are Anthony Giddens, Ulrich Beck, Jürgen Habermas, and Michel Foucault. Who defined the modern world as juggernaut? And the right answer is Anthony Giddens. Okay, he defined the modern world as juggernaut. So, Giddens has described the modern world as a juggernaut, that is, as an engine of enormous power which can be directed to some extent, but which also threatens to run out of control. And the juggernaut is a runaway world with great increases over prior systems in the pace, scope, and profoundness of change. So, the right answer is Giddens. Now, to our next question. Who has said that marriage is rooted in the family rather than the family is rooted in marriage? Whose words is this? Marriage is rooted in the family rather than the family is rooted in marriage. And the options are Kingsley Davis, G.P. Murdoch, E. Westermark, and Levi-Strauss. Whose words is this? And the right answer is Westermark. Okay, he said this statement. Marriage is rooted in the family rather than the family is rooted in marriage. Okay. Now to our next question. Those attitudes or behavior that conform to the norms of one's own sex are known as. So attitudes or behaviors which conform to the norms of one's own sex. It is known as, is it gender identity or gender appropriate or gender system or gender sensitization? What it is known as? So the right answer is gender appropriate. Okay. So gender appropriate behaviors are behaviors that align with the characteristics that are socio-culturally assigned to a particular gender. For example, in a society where men are expected to be the breadwinner and women to be the homemaker. Okay, so in society, our society expects the men to be the breadwinner and women to be the homemaker. So that is according to our society's gender appropriate behavior. But in that kind of a society, when a woman becomes a career woman and a father or a man becomes stay-at-home father, this is an example for gender inappropriate behaviors. Okay, so this is something which is completely opposite to the expectations of our society. So that kind of behavior is known as gender inappropriate behavior. Okay, so if the behaviors are aligning with the society's expectations, that is gender appropriate behavior. But when it is opposite to the society's expectations, it is gender inappropriate behaviors. Okay. Okay. Next question. I think this is our last question or second last question. Okay. So the question is, the idea of culture of poverty was introduced by culture of poverty. And the options are Oscar Lewis, Abel Smith, Samuel Mencher, and Peter Townsend. Who introduced the idea of culture of poverty? And the answer is Oscar Lewis. Okay. So Oscar Lewis was the anthropologist who first used the term culture of poverty. So he used the term to assert the theory that people born into poverty become adapted to poor mindset. Okay, and this theory said that the mindset of people in poverty causes people to continue in poverty and pass it down generation after generation. Okay, so this is culture of poverty. Okay, next question. The term total institution means and includes. Total institution means and it includes organized establishment, little possibility of escape from the norms, little possibility of escape from the rules of administrative structure, all of the above. Total institution means and it includes, and the right answer is all of the above. Okay, so concept of total institution, we can define it as a place of work and residence where a great number of similarly situated people cut off from the wider community for a considerable time together lead an enclosed, formally administered round of life. That is, their needs are under bureaucratic control. Okay, and example for total institutions include boarding schools, orphanages, prisons, juvenile detention centers, military branches. All these are example for total institution. Okay, and this it was first coined by Erving Goffman in his work Asylums, Essays on the Social Situation of Mental Patients and Other Inmates. Okay, so that is the concept of total institution and it is related to Goffman. Okay. Okay, so that's it for today. So we discussed questions from our third unit, which is basic concepts and institutions. So I hope it was a useful session. So see you in the next PYQ session. Until then, bye. Good night.